Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the High Ticket Coaching and Consultant Strategy and Growth Show. Now, if you listen to this interview anywhere else but within our private Facebook group called High Ticket Client Attraction Inside the Circle, then definitely come check us out. We'd definitely love to have you. Over the past couple of days, we've surpassed 7,000 members within our community. So if you're watching this anywhere else, definitely come check us out because we'd definitely love to have you. And today I want to introduce you to another one of the members of our community, Caroline Iscovitz. Welcome, Caroline.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. You're welcome. So tell us, what is it that you do?
Yeah, so I am a female entrepreneur coach, and I really focus on helping my clients work through any balance issues that they're having with their family, their relationships, any kind of relationships, their health, as well as their business, and being able to create self-care around that so they're living their best life and showing up as such, because it can be really difficult when you have all these wonderful things going on, but how do you prioritize? And that's where I come in to help them.
Right. Awesome. Love it. So what's your backstory before you got into doing this type of work? What did you do?
Yeah, I was in the mental health field. So I had gotten my doctorate in psychology, and I focused on marriage and family therapy. So I really got to understand how the dynamics of relationships work and how, just the human mind fascinates me, and how people's behaviors and emotions and actions all tie in together. And those create patterns based off of our childhood, and you bring it up to our adulthood and what that looks like in every capacity of our lives. So really that's where it started. And then I got very burnt out, and self-care didn't really exist for me. And that's I used my own story of being able to overcome it in a healthy way, and being able to show that to my coaching clients now has been such a blessing for me. And I'm so grateful that I do have that opportunity to flip the script and change the narrative where I was burning out and not knowing how to fix that and do it in a way that's going to be really productive for me. So that's what now I get to teach my clients to do.
Yeah, awesome. Love it. Now, what would you say is the core thing you've learned? Like if you had to condense everything you've kind of learned into maybe say like a couple of principles, what would those principles be?
That's a great question. I would say that the biggest one is that understanding that you're enough. And I think that's where the overachiever, and the burnout came into play, and not having that balance, but understanding that what we do is enough, and we could always strive for more, but really being happy with where we're at now, but continuing to grow, because it brings that balance within ourselves internally, and we feel fulfilled. So that's the first thing, because I feel like you feel more empowered too when you do care about yourself and really are loving yourself too. The other aspect is really creating strong boundaries. That's one thing I talk about all the time. The root of boundaries is having healthy communication in our relationships, with whether it's a client-coach relationship, whether it's our romantic, our family, our friends, and being able to really be able to see that and be able to move forward with healthier boundaries, being able to really stand in your power. A lot of common themes with power, but I just got off a client call too and talking about this, so it's very fresh. But being able to really just own who we are too, and own our story. And I think everything we've been through gets us to this point in time of where we're at. So those are like the main three principles that I would embody with myself. And then I also am able to show my clients and practice through with them too.
Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome. So you said the first one is just understanding that you're enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
So let's dive a little bit deeper into that one. What do you mean understand that you're enough? Tell us about that.
Yeah, that was actually my core issue growing up, not being enough. And it was my own internal conflict that I had, but always trying to work harder, be better, doing all these things because I have a high threshold of wanting to achieve so much. And I'm sure a lot of people on here right now have that same thought process of wanting to have it all. But I think it got to the point where it became self-destructive for myself. I wasn't really loving myself and taking care of myself from the inside out. That's emotionally, mentally, physically. Like I had mentioned previously, just now, I was very burnt out. I wasn't eating enough, working out. I was working out too much and not taking care of my soul. And that's where I feel like when we are enough and we are taking care of ourselves from the inside out, it makes all the difference in every aspect of our lives.
Mm-hmm. Goodness, you used some deep words there. You said taking care of your soul. How does one take care of their soul?
Yeah, I think it's for everyone. It's so different. But for me, embodying who I was and owning that. And I know I talked about that in the third principle, but I think it rings so strongly for me because being able to understand who you are and what is going to fill your cup. Because I think at the end of the day, I was always just burnt out. I would see sometimes 12 clients a day in a therapeutic setting, and you're dealing with a lot of different emotions, and understanding how to separate that is very important. But I think I was forgetting about myself, which is the most important, so you can give more. And that's where I think the enough piece comes into play, is when you're able to fill your own cup and overflows to everybody around you. And you show up differently. Your energy is different. And that's where I feel like the soul, you just feel happy more so than not. And I think I was at a point where I wasn't happy, and learning how to adjust that and monitor that for myself and what made sense for me.
Yeah. Okay, good, good. And what about the second principle, which is strong boundaries? What about those?
Yeah, this is a little bit harder and more challenging. And I get pushback from clients a lot with this, because it's difficult with every different person we come in contact with. We have to set different boundaries depending on, maybe they're a little bit more loose versus some are very rigid. And you have to sustain those. But I think as we evolve too, our boundaries evolve. So for instance, I know like in relationships, it was more of, at least in my former self, I would say I was more passive aggressive and didn't know really how to communicate what boundaries were, or what I was comfortable with or not comfortable with. Just as simple as something like speaking my mind, whether it was like going to a restaurant. Do you want sushi or do you want Mexican? And I'd be like, oh, whatever you want. That's a very small example, but being able to actually very decisive in our choices. And I think that shows up in different ways. So for boundaries, I think when we're able to really understand what we want, and that goes back to the enough, it's like the second layer to it, we're able to have no problem stating what we want and being able to get to the root of that, which is going to make us happy, which is going to show up in different ways with our practice, with our families, with everybody around us too, because they understand that. And with boundaries as well, I think when we're setting them at first, people are like, wait, if they're not used to their boundary or us setting boundaries, there's a lot of pushback, and it's understanding how to really implement them and solidify them for that person, depending on what type of relationship it is. And I know even like clients, it was a little bit different for me, but more of the personal aspect. And that's something I work heavily now with my clients, because I've been able to do that. And like I said, it's always evolving, and each person, different circumstances come up, but it's learning the core of those and being able to adjust from there. Yeah. And that's how I think the principle shows up for me, at least.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. And the third one, which is my favorite, which is eat a lot of pepperoni pizza. Goodness, how did you come up with that one?
Well, let me tell.
No, just kidding. So you said own who we are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Tell us about that one.
Yes. So when we own who we are, there's a quote by Brene Brown. I am not going to get it perfectly, but it's just owning our story when we are going out in the arena. It's in the book, Daring Greatly. There's this fear of like showing up as our vulnerable selves. And that's where I think owning our story and what we've been through in life is just who has made us who we are today. And we're able to stand in that and accept our flaws, because nobody is perfect. And I like to call myself a recovering perfectionist. And I got that term from Brene Brown, but being able to really understand we're going to have flaws, and that's what makes us so unique. And I think when if we're this perfect person, that's boring. That doesn't define who we are. There's so many layers to us. And that's what I was talking about, the boundaries and being enough. Like, I think when you peel back the onion, you just keep finding so many beautiful things that make us so unique to who we are on a core. Mm-hmm. So that's what I think overall has really shown me and shown up in my world and with my clients too, time and time again, of when we own that, there's just this light around you. Like I see it with my clients, that transformation period too, and just others around me that just love themselves unconditionally. And that's such a beautiful thing to see and witness.
Yeah. And who'd you say were the ideal clients that you work with?
Yes. So female entrepreneurs, I have worked with men in the past, but it's mostly women entrepreneurs that are just overwhelmed. They work themselves into the ground. They're not understanding the value of really taking a step back and taking care of themselves first, so they have more to give, because I think there's a misconception with that. And I would say the people that are just trying to be perfect and recognizing that, especially in business, there's a lot of pivots all the time. I mean, with everything that's going on in the world, a lot of people have had to pivot their businesses to adjust to times. But I think the people that are able to really own, that are open to change and ready to make that leap of having more balance when it comes to their self-care, their relationships, and everything that's in their life to make it more full for them and what makes sense for their lifestyle.
Yeah, and that is so powerful as well. So I love what it is that you do, because I know that some, just like in my own business where we help coaches, consultants, grow the businesses, a lot of them come to us with thinking that they have a business problem. But then when you look under the surface, you realize that no, that's just a personal problem. And it's kind of like almost like it's a reflection, it's reflecting in your business, right?
Yes.
So a lot of people come in thinking that we're going to be working on the techniques, getting client, all these different things, although we do a lot of that, but it's more based on the inner game of it. So when it comes to success for your clients, would you say that 80%, 90%, how much of it is inner work?
I would say probably like 85, 90% is the inner work, because it does show up. I think there is so much to business aspect, but like what you just said too, it's a lot of it's mindset, and it's the inner work that where roadblocks happen or the frustration or not really seeing it, because I think we all have blind spots. I mean, that's why I have a coach, because I don't see everything. I might think I do, but it's also like that growing spurt of understanding that, having that support system and that accountability to be able to grow and understand that a lot of it's stuff you can't see, and being able to have a graceful way, but being able to move forward and not stay stuck.
What? You have a coach?
Yes.
What?
Yeah, I'm
Have
a coach too.
That's good. That's good. So in your life, right, have you gone through where you didn't have coaches and you didn't work with coaches, versus when did that transition come for you where you realized you needed a coach?
Yeah, so when I left the therapy world, I feel like every coach has a coach, at least that's my opinion, or like if you want to grow and up level. And as a therapist, when I was working in the mental health field, I had a therapist, because it's working on the inner stuff. And I think too, when you're growing, you want to be able to help your clients grow as well, or be able to reach the deep rooted issues that are happening that you might not be aware of, or seeing how that's affecting you in present day. So for coaching, as soon as I decided to transition from therapy to coaching, I was like, okay, I need a business coach. And my business coach helped me, and I stayed with her for a while. And then there was a period I didn't have a coach. And then I didn't see as much growth with my business. I saw myself get a little stuck for a little bit of time, and then I got another coach, and I've been with him for a while now. But I have seen just such a difference in how I present myself in coaching and how I'm constantly growing or being challenged. Because I think if you're not being challenged to grow, how can you help others to do that? But that's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, and that makes a lot of sense as well. It's one of those places where, because I know from my own experience, growing up in the Caribbean, tiny island called St. Lucia, coaching was one of the things I had no idea what exactly it was. Like coach, and I thought it was like just a sports thing, right? But it wasn't until I got into this whole entrepreneurial route, and then going a couple of years trying to say, how do you do this, and trying to bang my head against the wall and doing all these different things, that I realized like maybe I should get some help around this area, right? So I think it's awesome, and because I know there's still a lot of people who are resistant to actually getting help in fixing their lives, fixing their businesses. They're still out there trying to do it. And if you listen to this right now and you don't have a coach, you're doing it the hard way. You got to get somebody to help you, right? Awesome, love it. So what's that vision that you're currently building and growing towards at the moment?
So my vision right now is to really continue to expand my one-to-one coaching clients. I have virtual workshops, which I actually started in January before COVID started, but being able to really reach the masses and hear my message, but also I want people to take care of themselves and remember that they are important and they matter and they're enough. And any way I can be able to facilitate that, that is my vision. And speaking and having great platforms like this being able to really just reach people and make them think a little bit, and if I could help one person every day and change their world from one little thing I've said, like that just really hits home for me. And that's what I continue to strive for. But the bigger vision is to really be able to continue to impact my one-to-one clients and through workshops and teaching.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any famous, have you come up with any famous quotes yet?
I mean, I have one that's kind of like just my balance quote, but being able to really balance is the root of healthy communication. And that's, I mean, the very short of the quote I have, but I believe that's really true to who I am and what I really value, because communication is key to everything. How we show up for our clients, how we communicate, miscommunications happen. But yeah, that would be my quote.
That was brilliant. Do you mind if I take credit for that quote?
I mean,
Love it. Okay, so what's one skill you'd say you really practice that's really helping you achieve and get to your level of success today?
One skill, I would say being consistent and showing up. Consistency is key. I do have this this motivation that I don't even know where it comes from sometimes, but really being able to stay consistent, and I'm very self-driven and motivated. So going back to that is just being consistent on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. Consistency? What? Had no idea. I thought that's, I might have to try that out, because I've been trying to lose some weight here, and I went to a gym like one time and I didn't see any results, and it's like, it doesn't work. You may have to do it a lot. I have to do it consistently.
I guess, yeah.
Oh man. Okay, good. Love it. What about excuse me? I love asking the question. What's one story? Do you have any type of and this is where it gets good, a little bit personal. Do you have any stories you could share from your past that you could share with us, that we could look back and say, oh, so that's how you got to be who you are, and why you're on this path that you're on? Do you have any other stories?
Yeah, I think like a huge part of it, and I talk about this a little bit on posts and stuff, but the biggest thing for me was when I was working in private practice, I was seeing a lot of clients on a weekly basis. I probably saw 30 clients, and this is like families, couples, individuals. And it was like a day-to-day thing, like working 12 hours. That was like my norm. And I got very burnt out. But what I realized too was we would have like a pot of coffee at the practice, and I would sometimes go through the entire pot of coffee, but like I would forget to eat. Like my hair started falling out because I was so stressed out and so burnt out, and like my skin started getting affected. I was just not my best self, and I was showing up for my clients, but internally I just wasn't at the place I wanted to be. And I knew that. I just didn't know how to get there. And the breaking point for me was because financially I was living in California at the time. And as I was getting gas, I realized I don't know if I have enough money for groceries. And that was like kind of a pivotal moment of like, something needs to change. This is just not okay. And I kept pushing myself. And at this time I was still finishing up my doctorate degree. So I had a lot going on. And at that moment I had a call with one of my best friends, and I decided I was going to move back to Florida next few months and start my coaching business, because that was where I was passionate. I wanted to see people thrive, and I felt like I was just surviving. And the clientele I worked with wasn't at a point where they were really thriving. It was more of a high crisis clients I would see. So I think really having my therapeutic background, having just a really supportive family, I decided to move back to Florida. And that's what really, through that journey, it was a very hard journey, but I also just stayed consistent with what my heart was telling me and not really listening as much to my head. Because I feel like I was always doing what was expected of me. And that was the point where I was doing what was best for me on a very internal level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. California is pretty expensive when you just get started as an entrepreneur, right?
It is.
Know,
It
right?
totally is.
Yeah.
Beautiful. I go back a lot, but
Awesome. Love it.
I
Love
miss
it.
it.
Okay, good. Now, if someone wanted to learn more and find out a bit more and really connect with you because they just really, really resonate with your message here, what's the best way for them to be able to reach out?
Yeah, I'm always on Instagram. So just my handle is Dr. Caroline Iscovitz. And I'm on Facebook as well, just facebook.com/Dr. Caroline Iscovitz. And my website, just to learn a little bit more about myself, is just drcarolineiscovitz.com.
Awesome. Love it. Love it. And guys, if you're watching this interview on the live or the replay, be sure you leave us a comment just to let us know you're here. And the links Dr. Caroline just shared with us here, they will be either above or below this video. So you can click and get connected right to her. Caroline, thank you so much for making the time to be here today. Do you have any final thoughts before we end?
I just want to say thank you for facilitating this and what you do for the community, because it's so powerful and impactful to really bring and shine coaches that are making a difference in the world just like you are. So I just want to give my gratitude to you for today.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. I will take that. Well, thank you so much, and we'll talk soon, okay?